The first insult came quietly, disguised as a joke. Careful, a man in a tailored suit laughed, stepping around the wet floor sign. We don't want to slip because someone couldn't do their job right. The others chuckled. No one looked at Daniel. Daniel stood still, his hands wrapped around the mop handle, eyes lowered. He had learned long ago that silence was safer than dignity. If you didn't react, the world moved on faster. If you did, it crushed you slowly, every morning. Daniel arrived before sunrise at the tallest building downtown. While executives slept, he scrubbed their floors. While they practiced speeches in the mirror, he wiped fingerprints off glass walls that reflected a life he was never meant to touch. To them, he was just a janitor, a background figure, a shadow in a blue uniform. Sometimes they spoke over him, sometimes through him, and sometimes, like today, they spoke about him as if he weren't standing there at all. Daniel didn't correct them. He never did. The disrespect wasn't loud. That was the worst part. It was casual, effortless, like breathing. When meetings ran late, people complained that he cleaned slowly. When he worked faster, they complained he was distracting. Once, an executive snapped, "These people should know their place." Daniel nodded and apologized, even though the words burned. What none of them knew was that Daniel listened. He listened while emptying trash cans outside conference rooms. He listened while mopping near half-closed doors. He listened to rushed decisions, ignored warnings, and ego-driven arguments. He heard problems repeated every week, problems no one seemed willing to solve. At night, in his small apartment, Daniel wrote everything down in a worn notebook, not out of bitterness, out of hope. Years ago, Daniel had believed in speaking up. He had once sat at a boardroom table much like this one, wearing a borrowed suit and carrying a proposal that could have transformed a failing company. He had worked for years on it, but the moment he began speaking, eyes drifted, phones buzzed. Someone whispered that he didn't look experienced enough. They rejected him politely. 6 months later, that company collapsed. That was the day Daniel learned a painful truth. Talent doesn't disappear when ignored. It just learns to survive quietly. So he stopped trying to be seen. He chose observation over argument, patience over pride. At Larkspur Industries, that patience was tested daily. One afternoon, a senior manager rushed out of the elevator and slammed into Daniel's cleaning cart. Coffee spilled everywhere on the floor, on the manager's expensive suit. Furious, the man turned red. "Are you blind?" he shouted. "Do you know how much this costs?" The hallway went silent. Daniel knelt down and cleaned the spill without a word. No one defended him. No one ever did. The manager stormed off, muttering about incompetent help. That night, Daniel stayed late. He stood alone in the main conference room, wiping the massive glass table beneath framed photos of past CEOs. All confident, all celebrated, all once underestimated by someone else, perhaps. Daniel looked at his reflection in the dark glass. Tired eyes, calm face, steady hands. "You still matter," he whispered to himself. The next morning, the building buzzed with panic. An unexpected investor visit, a sudden audit, financial inconsistency surfacing all at once. Executives rushed through hallways, voices tight, confidence cracking. Daniel worked as usual, unnoticed, but alert. An emergency board meeting was called. As Daniel waited outside the conference room with his card, raised voices spilled through the door. Blame, denial, fear. Then the door opened. "We're missing the consultant," the CEO snapped. "This meeting can't start." Daniel stepped forward. "You don't need one," he said quietly. Every head turned. Someone laughed. "This is restricted. Get out." Daniel didn't move. "I've been here for 3 years," he continued calmly. "I know where the problems are. I know why profits are bleeding, and I know how to fix it." The room froze. Before anyone could react, a woman at the end of the table stood up. "The investor, Daniel Reyes," she said slowly. "I was wondering when you'd speak." She turned to the stunned board. "This man designed the operational model you dismissed years ago. He's helped companies recover quietly, without recognition. I asked him to observe this place from the inside." Murmurs erupted. Daniel placed his notebook on the table, then another, then a folder. He spoke without anger, without pride, just truth. He showed them patterns they had ignored, waste they normalized, people they had underestimated. He explained not only what was broken but why, and how to fix it without destroying lives. No insults, no revenge. Just clarity, When he finished, the room was silent. The CEO finally spoke. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" Daniel met his eyes. "I tried once. You weren't listening." By the end of the day, leadership changed. Policies shifted. Respect became non-negotiable. Daniel was offered a powerful position. He accepted with conditions. He kept his office door open. He greeted cleaners by name. He listened more than he spoke, and when someone asked him how it felt to finally be seen, Daniel smiled gently. "It's not about being seen," he said. "It's about seeing others before it's too late." Because life has a quiet way of teaching us that the people we overlook today may be the very ones who shape our tomorrow.